when you can make a connection with somebody and you can tell if you're having an interaction, whether it's a negative interaction or whatever the case may be, when you're having an interaction with somebody and you can tell the moment that they stop viewing you as just this uniform, and they start speaking to you as a person. When you can make a connection, and then you can tell there's either like a sigh of relief, or they just have this moment where they just like, oh, okay, and you can just start talking.
Welcome to the Better Than Ever podcast. Join me, Joseph Bailey, as we compare our current lives to the bad old days of the past, where we talk about what's better than ever. What if comparison isn't the thief of joy? What if it's the key? All right.
Do I need to wear
you
this?
Ready? Yeah, wear those. That way, some of the podcasters are kind of getting away from it. But I like it because if I'm like clicking, like an old man would click or something. If I'm clicking or sniffing or anything, you can hear it. So you're like, yeah, maybe I should do that. Yeah. So
it's funny. Are you ready?
Yeah, but it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're talking about making noises. I was going to make a funny observation. I listened to some of the first podcast.
No.
I've been working through it.
Oh, nice.
Good. But there was like the first, there was one, I can't even remember which one. I couldn't even tell you which one, but there was a few moments where I heard you would like make a comment and then you made like a.
I do that. I know. I do that all the time.
I wondered if you were aware of that.
That's my thing. I know it's bad. And I do it a lot. I need to like slide away.
One of my favorite things, I love watching people's behaviors. I think that I love that.
Yeah.
In police work as well.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But I love finding people's little isms and.
Oh yeah.
What are they called? Like.
Yeah. Eccentricities or
idiosyncrasies.
Like, idiosyncrasies. Yeah.
Is that the right word? Idiosyncrasies.
Or like a tick or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Some people it's a face or a noise or whatever, but it's always funny to me. I'll see it, and what's really funny is I'll find those things. Yeah. And I will forever remember that person for that. Yeah. But I could never remember their name.
Their name, huh?
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I think because I learned so many students' names that I'm pretty good with names.
You got good at it, yeah.
I got good at it, yeah. And try not to. That's my thing. But what was I going to say? When I see somebody out, I'm like, I'm pretty sure their name is whatever. Mm-hmm. But then I doubt myself. And then I'll look it up on social media. I'm like, yep, I was like 95%. I'm right. And I'm really good with faces. And something that I didn't know, especially in high school, I didn't know that. I thought everybody was good at faces like I was. I didn't know that it was a thing to be good with faces. And so like I'll recognize people and I'll be like, hey, it's me. And they don't know who it is. Like Krista is not great with faces. When we were at 8M, we would pass some random person and she would wave and I'm like, we don't know them. What are you doing? Don't wave at them. She's like, that's so-and-so. I'm like, that's literally not so-and-so. So anyway.
I feel like I'm good with faces.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like
in your line of work, you probably need to be.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, here we go. Tim Cox, Officer Tim Cox. Welcome to the program. You made it. You're here. You got a dog in the car out front. Mm-hmm. So it's an exciting time already. So, the neighbors are talking.
Oh,
so,
yeah. The
definitely.
Neighbor was outside watching me and texting somebody. And
the Baileys are in huge trouble, and they knew it. The neighbors are like, we knew there was something wrong with the Baileys.
Just a matter of time.
It was a matter of time. That's right. We knew it. So let's start with your story. Like, where'd you start? And I'm interested to hear this because I don't know this about you. It's been forever since we've even talked. We went on a couple of trips together, on a couple of church trips, and so where'd you start?
We went to Ireland together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
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 My wife still hasn't been to Ireland. There's like a little
That's
bit of,
right. Yeah.
there's a little Bailey thing about that, like a little riff about that.
Mm-hmm.
So she still hasn't been overseas.
Only the cool ones go to Ireland.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Irving.
Irving,
right outside, in between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Oh man.
Yeah. Grew up in Irving. Went to Nimitz High School.
Nimitz.
Yep. And pretty much Crystal and I met in high school.
Yeah.
And
y'all been married forever, right?
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many years?
Absolutely forever. We've only been married like 3 years. We're only like 22. Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to say the year. I stopped saying the year. To my students, I was like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was some time ago.
Yeah.
It was some time ago.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I like that.
We got married shortly after high school, and
Yeah.
I joined the military. I did delayed enlistment.
Okay.
I at the time, I don't really know why. I just didn't want to graduate and 2 days later
Yeah.
take off. I was still kind of working and wanted to get married and enjoy just a little bit before I took off. And that was a pretty big leap. And so,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, sure.
What year was that?
90.
Oh, it was in the 90s.
99.
It was pre 9/11.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I think that is, that's pretty important. There's like a window of people that joined a few years before 9/11.
Yeah.
And so they got to see that military life before 9/11 and then a very rapid, very extreme change.
Because it's a really common story after 9/11, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
To join after. Yeah.
yeah. And so, I joined. I saw guys, people I knew that were a year or two older than me growing up, knew them, and then saw them join and come back after boot camp and stuff like that. And you can see how much of a drastic change, it makes in a person. And I was always really drawn to that.
That's cool.
And I saw that in some friends, and just, I kind of wanted something different, and didn't really want to go straight to college.
Yeah.
And obviously military has great college benefits. I have degrees that I never paid for. Well, I mean, I did in one way or another. I did.
Right, right, you did.
But
and what branch did you say?
Air Force.
Air Force.
Yep.
All right.
I went into the Air Force. I was interested in police. It's kind of, I can't even imagine what life would have been like if I didn't go the route I did. But I almost joined and did like aircraft type.
Really?
Yeah. I was looking at different aircraft type positions, and then there was something that was always drawing me towards military police. And so I did that. And my experience was some military police, mostly deployments that didn't have much to do with like police work. But,
work.
After joining and deploying one or two times, and then 9/11 happened, it was, everything changed.
Oh yeah, I bet.
But
I didn't realize it was military police that you were doing. Interesting.
Yeah. I joined. So that was January of '99 is when I went to basic training in San Antonio, and then while I was there, the military police or security forces in the Air Force. It's that's what the Air Force calls it. But while I was there for all of that training, I saw. They would shuttle us around on buses to different training sites. Yeah. Well, whenever we're not in boot camp. Boot camp, you're marching everywhere. Right. But in
and yelling.
Yeah,
and they're yelling at you.
They're yelling at us, and we're just trying to survive.
Yes.
But during the technical military police, the security forces training part of it, they would shuttle us around on buses because we had different sites all over where we would train.
Yeah.
And we passed by a couple times where I saw. Guys who had already been in for a while training dogs.
Oh yeah.
I saw the training program a few times, and I remember vividly sitting on a bus, driving by, seeing the dogs, and knowing I'm doing that.
That's cool.
I remember sitting on the bus, seeing them, and thinking that. And so as soon as I got to my first base, I immediately, how do I do that?
That's cool. Yeah.
How do I get there? And I started working really hard, and had to be the guy that got bit for a long time. Before I could get a recommendation. And so
does everybody get bit?
Well, not literally.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? The dogs are just biting the trainees or whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Not literally.
Not
it was
literally.
Like you have to wear the suit, the sleeves, things like that. I mean, inevitably you do get bit.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I've been bit several times, but
you have to run away from the attack dog in the suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
the new guy,
the new guy, you have to do that for a long time. It turns out it's a very important role.
Really?
Yeah. The person getting bit is the person training the dog.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, so it's all the reinforcements.
Okay.
Training. There's a lot of science to training.
Oh, I can't
these
imagine.
dogs.
Yeah.
You know, like the whole Pavlov dog.
Oh yeah.
That's key. That's a very important part of it.
Okay.
And,
Interesting.
So if you're training the dog to find an odor,
Yeah.
you condition the dog by a series of behaviors. They get certain type of reinforcement, either negative or positive, and then it eventually just conditions the dog. I smell this, I do this behavior, I get that ball.
Wow.
Or, it's after millions of repetitions,
Oh yeah.
they get proficient with the behavior that you want. And same thing with bite work, apprehension work, tracking somebody that's ran away, finding something in a field. It's a lot of reinforcement. And so the guy getting bit is you're reinforcing the behavior. So yeah, it looks like runaway
chaos.
Get bit. Yeah.
Yes.
It looks like absolute chaos,
Yes.
but there is a science to it.
That's interesting. So you're training the dog what kind of bite to do?
Yeah. Yeah. So you want the dog to, and it's safe for the dog.
Yeah.
The type of bite, it's safer for the dog. It's safer for,
Huh.
I mean, and it also, it kind of lessens unnecessary injury and damage to the person that may unfortunately have to be bit, but, a full mouth on a limb is better than just teeth ripping.
Oh yeah.
And
interesting.
And so you're reinforcing a lot of things. You're reinforcing the dog's just confidence.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. It looks like madness, but there's a lot to it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I absolutely love it. And I feel like when I came up in it, I had to be that guy on my days off and going to demos, and got to be the guy that puts on the suit for the demo. And and so the air shows, I don't even know if they still do the demos like that at air shows, but those first couple of years when I was that guy, I was the one in the suit out at the air shows.
That's funny. Yeah.
And then after doing it for a while, I got a recommendation from trainers and kennel masters, and was accepted to the school. And
that's awesome.
And that was 20-ish years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You told me one time, this was a long time ago, and you said, if a pizza shows up at your house.
Yes.
You remember this?
I love this. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember it because I think about it all the time. If a pizza shows up at your house, you tell it. You tell it. You're the expert. I don't want to botch your story.
I was enjoying hearing you say it.
No. Because I tell other people this story.
Yeah. Dogs. Okay. So I'm going to teach you a very, my friends make fun of me because I love this word. And when I do demos at school and things like that, I always teach students this word. And I try to make it silly for kids, for a way for them to remember the word, but it's olfactory. Yeah. Olfactory. Yeah. I mean, not like I'm teaching you a word.
Right. Right.
Dr. Bailey. But yeah, so olfactory is, we have olfactory sensors. Right. Dogs have olfactory sensors, but we have, oh gosh, a couple 100,000 maybe. And dogs have several million.
God, that's cool.
And I'm blanking on the actual number. There's a range. Different breeds have higher levels.
Oh yeah, like bloodhounds or something like that.
Yes, yeah. And so, with the amount of olfactory sensors in a dog, it makes basically their strongest sense is that nose, and they process the world through that nose, where we primarily process the world through our eyes. We see things and we process things that way, and dogs process things in an insane way. I don't think we can even fathom how, because there are odors that I've trained dogs to locate with their nose that are technically odorless odors.
Like what are you allowed to say?
Yeah, I mean, well, so most narcotics have odors. Okay. Whether it's a chemical compound or just like marijuana has a very strong odor. Right. That's a very strong odor. Right. But there are, I trained explosive detector dogs in the military. That's all I did in the military. Yeah. And so like sodium and potassium chlorides are compounds that are used to mix with other things and make explosives. And we've trained dogs to locate those, and they are odorless chemicals.
And so it's just a powder. Like if you held that up to your nose, you could not smell.
Right. Yeah.
But they could.
Yeah, and you could put a couple grams in like a little plastic cup, and and we would put it in a field, and they would smell it and from 100 yards away and pull to it. Like
That's
we'd
so
go
cool.
downwind of it and watch that change behavior and we'd go to it. So the pizza, all the olfactory.
Back to the
talk
pizza.
about the pizza. Yeah. So the way dogs process with that much, that strong level of olfactory sensors, I always give that example. If you order a pizza, and kids relate to this really well. If you order a pizza shows up, pizza man comes, delivers the pizza comes in the house. Everybody smells pizza.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I smell in the house is pizza.
Right.
But the dog, even just your pets, the dog smells the cardboard, that pizza box cardboard, the bread, the sauce, the tomatoes, the onions, the mushrooms, the beef, whatever it is that's on it. They smell every single individual aspect of it.
That's so crazy.
Differently at the same time.
Right.
And so we've just learned that smell is pizza, but they know all of the separate things. And so if you're going down the road and you see the dogs that love sticking their heads out the windows, they're smelling everything as you go by individually, not just, where is it? There's the place over, it's the old Sam's building where they make the cookies now.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere over there. Somewhere over there. There's
and you can smell the cookies.
There's a fantastic cookie smell just in the air all the time over there.
Yeah.
That like, so if you drive in that area, you smell and you're like, oh gosh, there's cookies in the air. There's cookies. It smells like cookies out here. But a dog is smelling every single individual ingredient.
That's so cool.
Separately, but at the same time.
I think a good analogy, one of the things I've thought about is like our vision. We have pretty good vision for an animal, not like a hawk, but it's pretty great. And so when we look at a scene, we look outside and we could see houses and fences and trees, and we can see all the things. I spent a lot of time thinking about feral hogs, and I've had hogs like stare at me and they don't know, they know something might be off, but they just kind of see like one shape. Yeah. Whereas, with our sight, we can see like 30 shapes. And I think that's for a canine, which is weird for us. We can just smell pizza, just like boom, pizza. Yeah. But he can like parse it all out and smell all those things. That's so crazy.
I know. It's really interesting.
That's really neat. Okay. So you grew up DFW.
Irving.
Yep. man, that wears me down. Anyway, that part of the world, all the traffic and everything.
Oh my gosh.
You went to the military, and then what year did you get out of the military?
And
then you had you had the bomb sniffing dog, right? And then how many years did you do that? And then when did you get out?
6 years active duty.
Okay.
I got out in 2006.
Yeah.
So,
and that was like in the heat of the battle, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of combat action.
I was actually so insane. I was actually deployed in 01. I was deployed. Let's see, I left in July, maybe August. Maybe it was like end of July, beginning of August. And it was run of the mill, just another deployment, just going and sitting and
where?
In Saudi Arabia. I was in Saudi Arabia in
when 9/11 happened.
Yep. I got there in end of July, beginning of August, and it was just kind of run of the mill deployment, doing this again. And then sirens go off, and it went from just regular shirt, pants, ball cap, working out in the middle of nowhere, just doing our thing, securing some planes in the middle of Saudi Arabia, to all of a sudden sirens going off and it's full armor war. And it was in a matter of a second for me, everything changed. Wow. And so, and then oddly enough, so that was supposed to be like either a 3 or a 4 month long deployment. I did several of those. They were just supposed to be like 3 or 4 months. And
do you get to come home? Okay.
Yeah. So it was like a team would go for just 3 or 4 months and then come back. And then, and that was a big deal back then. But then on that particular deployment, it was supposed to be 3 or 4 months. And then September 11th happened, and I ended up not being able to come home for I think it was a total of 9 months on that deployment.
Wow.
And then again, so September 11th happened, that deployment got extended. And then again, I deployed in '03 when the Iraq invasion happened.
Yeah.
And so I was deployed, and it was again I think that one was just supposed to be 6 months, but then the invasion happened and it ended up being like another 9 or
Holy
10
cow.
months. I can't remember exactly. It ended up getting extended and
Yeah.
turning into a longer deployment. And then a part of me thought, okay, I had enough. '06 came around. Do I re-enlist or get out? And I had a few things I wanted to do. And there was a weird part of me that thought the easy thing to do would just re-enlist.
Yeah.
It would be the easy thing. I wanted to kind of challenge myself and do something else, as if military life wasn't
challenging
enough.
enough, right? Yeah.
I wanted to do something else. I don't know why I had that thought. I wanted to do something else. And so, I went ahead and got out, and I started working on school and things like that. But then I had a friend that got in touch with me about a military contract. And so I started contracting for the military. Actually, I contracted first for, it was a working bomb dogs, working explosive detection dogs. But I contracted for a company that had some dogs at a Department of Energy site in New Mexico. That was a really cool experience. It was actually in Los Alamos, New Mexico. Yeah. Really cool place. I only did that for a year. Crystal and I picked up and moved everything and went there for 1 solid year.
Wow.
And
God's country out there.
Oh
my goodness. Yeah.
It was very interesting. That community is like, it started as just this little secret location on top of a mountain, and it's like that lab community. But did that for a year, came back, and then shortly after that, I went. A friend of mine had found this company that had a contract with the Army in Afghanistan.
Okay.
And so had to go through a little bit of a vetting process, and then went to Afghanistan and got a bomb dog, got certified, and then got paired up with a Army Special Forces team and went out to the middle of nowhere with them and did combat operations for.
Was that the first time you were doing combat?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. All my deployments in the Air Force were like air-based defense.
Oh yeah.
I had a dog, and we would search anything and everything that left the base and came on the base, and things like that. And
this was like far different.
Oh yeah. 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 I'm really grateful for the experience. It was,
really?
It was a really good experience. It was good to be able to, I learned a lot about life.
I bet.
Yeah. Learned a lot about life, learned a lot about friends, camaraderie, service. I don't really think that I ever fully processed what it means to like sacrifice and service until I was with those guys, that team doing that. Yeah. I think I had an idea, but then I think I really learned in Afghanistan that meaning of service. But
that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. I worked at Bomb Dog. We had a lot of, we did, our main thing was like weapons interdiction and IED interdiction and things like that. Yeah. And so we trained a lot of Afghan Army and their Border Patrol. Okay. So pretty much anything we did, we took a team. Took a team of Afghan Army guys or their Border Patrol guys and did operations with them and tried to get them slowly but surely doing the job themselves.
Trained, yes.
Yeah.
But that would be challenging.
Extremely challenging.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so then you get out in what year? Because you're a contractor. In that time, you're a contractor or you're...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got out of active duty in '06, and then I did the year with the Department of Energy, and then it was like a year and a half in Afghanistan with Army as a contractor. And then after that, I actually did another year in Baghdad.
Oh, wow.
With a Department of State contract. Yeah. Where we're doing diplomatic security. So working out of, basically out of the embassy, anybody that needs to, any diplomatic employees, Department of State employees that go anywhere in Baghdad. They had a team of people that were transporting them and securing venues while they were there and stuff like that. And so
you're running security on a venue or whatever.
Yep. I had a bomb dog there as well. And so that was my role. We'd get there and I'd sweep the whole place with the bomb dog. And funny story about that. So I always tell people, it's kind of funny. I don't know. Maybe it's not the best analogy, but I feel like in a weird way, I've had like a Forrest Gump life.
Oh, really?
You know, I love that. I love that movie. And I think the comedy of him being involved in a little bit of everything is hilarious.
Yeah.
And like he meets all these presidents and has like, it's not that big a deal to him that he's like,
again.
Yeah.
Get to meet the president, go to the White House again. Yep.
So, when I was in Baghdad, it was the last year. I'm trying to think through the timeline of it. It was like the last year President Bush was in office. Mm-hmm. And towards the end of that year I was in Baghdad, President Obama was elected, and it was that time frame of that transition. And on my birthday, I was tasked with securing a venue where President Bush came and gave a press conference. Yeah. And it was the famous...
The shoe?
The infamous. Is it infamous? It would be infamous. Not famous, but infamous. Yeah. The infamous shoe.
You were at the shoe
I was at the shoe.
What? I did not know
I mean,
this.
I wasn't standing there watching it happen, but I secured that venue, and then I helped take up security outside. I was literally outside of the building where that was taking place, and the commotion happened, and everybody was freaking out, looking around, trying to figure out what was going on.
He did great.
Oh yeah,
he dodged it great.
There was there two? I think there was two.
I think so. Yeah.
And he said something like, "I think that was a 10.5," and just giggled. And that poor man that made a bad decision that day. I wonder what happened to that guy.
I don't know. It's the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
So did he just disappear? Disappear? I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's cool. Okay, so
yeah.
So then you get out in what year?
I finished. So that was when I finished up in Baghdad. That was middle of.
Let me make sure that's a little bit closer. There you go.
When I left Baghdad, it was the middle of 2009.
Okay.
All right. Hold on. Let's see. I went to Afghanistan January of 2007, middle of 2008. Yeah, so middle of 2009 is when I left Baghdad and came back here. Family was here while I was.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how'd you end up here of all places? Family was here.
Dias.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So grew up in Irving.
Okay.
Military took us around, landed us in Abilene, and then started having the babies here in Abilene and.
Having the babies.
Started having the kids here in Abilene. And so just kind of established a life here, and then tried to leave and ended up coming back. And so, I mean, really, you mentioned the Metroplex. It like gives me a headache just thinking of the traffic and just the monstrosity of the how much it's grown.
Everything takes forever to get to me.
So
it's rough.
We've gone a couple of times we're just going to go to like Nebraska Furniture and I come close to committing acts of violence just because of how insane everything is. And
the building's like a quarter of a mile inside.
Oh
or
my
something.
gosh.
It's wild.
Yeah. You actually, you lose the ability to process any more furniture after
it's weird.
After 30 minutes of furniture. It's like, look at this one. I can't even look at it.
I don't. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've gone back a few times, and Irving, there used to be boundaries. I remember when I grew up, you had to like leave town before you get to Dallas.
Yeah. You leave this one, enter this one. Yeah.
You could tell I've just left the one side of Irving, and then now I get to Fourth. Now there's no boundaries. Everything is it's all just one big
mush
thing. Yeah. And so
Chris is from Burleson. So
okay.
Burleson, Crowley, Fort Worth.
Oh,
it's just all.
It's all just one big
Joshua,
thing.
All this. Yep.
Just one big lump of concrete. But
so you came back to Abilene. Did you tried to leave Abilene?
We did. Yeah. Well, we went to after I got out, we did the New Mexico thing, and
okay,
then we were trying to decide from there where are we going to put our life, and we didn't want to go back to the Metroplex just because of how much it had grown so rapidly, and Abilene we'd already had some life established, and so we came back, and then I did all of that contracting, and during that time the family was here, and so you know, even though I was in Afghanistan for a year and a half and then Baghdad for a year, there were times where I'd have like a couple week vacations during those times, so I'd come back here. And
you would vacation in Abilene?
Yeah, well, you call it vacation. I mean, it's not. It's
but it's
You take. I guess I should say leave.
Leave.
You have a couple weeks of leave, and so
probably just camp out or something. Just like sit there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so then what's next? You ended up at a church, right?
Yeah,
for a little bit.
Yeah, that's a part of my
Forrest Gump
life. Yeah, I went from combat operations, that whole life, and there was a thing inside of me that thought I wanted air conditioning for the rest of my life.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're outside primarily for several years in the Middle East, and I just thought, okay,
120 degrees or something.
And I have very fair skin, so
yeah, I noticed that.
I would be I would be regularly made fun of because everyone's in like a t-shirt and shorts, and
You're in long sleeves.
I would be head to toe.
Yep.
Scarf over my head and neck, long sleeve shirt, pants, and I've got a lot of pictures in Afghanistan where we're standing around doing stuff. We're out on an operation or something, and there's guys that are a lot of skin exposed, and I have nothing exposed.
No skin.
but yeah, so there was a part of me that thought I wanted air conditioning, and so I started looking, and just kind of during that transition from military life to what I was doing. I was in school and I was taking some courses, and I was actually during that time we were getting involved at church, and that's around, when did we go to Ireland? Was that
9 or 11 or
maybe
right in there?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was about that time we were getting involved, doing a few mission trips, doing stuff with kids ministry, youth ministry and stuff. But yeah, it was one of the last couple of months I was in Baghdad, and I had this little, the rooms that we had, they were like sea containers, the shipping containers that they had converted into, it was like 2 rooms with a bathroom in the middle. Yeah. And so that was my life. A shipping container.
No windows.
Just sitting. No. Just sitting in a shipping container with a halfway decent window unit that just not a window unit, but like the split units.
Oh yeah, like a mini split. Or something
mini split.
Like that. Did it work okay?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
I feel like, so growing up, my dad was an electrician. He was an electrician, then he got a different job, but we would always do stuff on the weekends or whatever. And the thing that I discovered, and this may not be your experience, but if you want to not feel hot, don't go inside. You know, like if you're outside, if you're working in an attic, you're working in an attic, like you're working outside, do not go inside all day long. Like you can drink tons of water and just don't go inside. And I would feel better. Because I don't know if you acclimate to it or whatever. So then you sleep inside, and then I wonder if it like switches your body back over to Western world or whatever.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, because you see people, that contractors, things like that, those guys are professional. Like they have black belts in finding shade.
Oh, really? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If they're not swinging a hammer, they're sitting under a tree drinking some water. And
that's funny. Not working? Are you saying they're kind of like not working?
Just like taking a break. You find some shade. You don't go inside. Maybe that's the thing.
Yeah.
You don't go inside
do not
cool
go
off.
inside.
You just find a tree, get some breeze for a minute, drink some water, and then get right back to work.
Yep, that's right. So, okay, so then you work at a church for a little bit?
Yeah. So
much different work?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I transitioned from that military life to church. Started doing after school program for a little while, and then transitioned into children's ministry. Yeah, and was able to get a really incredible experience of opening launching the North Campus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was a part of that team, launched that campus.
Yeah.
A lot of really hard work, but really fun, really rewarding.
Yeah, that's cool.
Really good work.
Yeah.
And then did that. That was probably about a 2-year window ish, maybe 3-year window of focusing on the North Campus, then actually launching and then doing services.
Yeah.
And then that's when I transitioned to the police department.
Tell me about, so you're a police officer now. How many years are you in?
The police department?
Yeah.
7. I'm about to hit 7. Is that right?
Why'd you decide to be a police officer? I think this question is really fascinating for the guys I know.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody's kind of got a different reason.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think everybody's like where everybody came from, just everything that's kind of shaped everybody. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Some people and I know guys that I work with now that they were the kid that ran around with a little plastic gun on their hip and a plastic badge on their chest, that they just always wanted to be a police officer. And
just like when you saw the canines, you're just like,
exactly.
I'm that guy, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. That's when I joined the military, that was kind of in my mind.
Okay.
That was what drew me to military police. I was interested in that. And so it was always on my mind. And then my military experience was so drastically different than what I thought it was going to be, but I wouldn't change it whatsoever. I wouldn't change it for a thing. And all of my experience contracting, amazing experience. I wouldn't change that for anything. And then I had that, I know, same kind of thing. There was a moment where I knew I was drawn to ministry. I knew I was going to seek that, work hard for that. And I did that. Yeah. And, but there's always, one of the things I found in like my time in the military was, the camaraderie. I wasn't expecting to be so drawn to that camaraderie.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting thing. And I know there's camaraderie in almost anything. There's in any group, type of work you do, like-mindedness, things, any different areas of work that you do, you can find camaraderie. But in my opinion, you can't find camaraderie like you do in the military.
I can't imagine.
Anywhere else, almost anywhere else.
And the more stressful, the more traumatic, it seems like the camaraderie would have to tighten up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
for you to survive.
That was one thing I experienced. That was one of my main observations was, getting vetted and getting onto a team and doing some training, and then, leading up to starting, specifically like the Afghanistan experience, just leading up to starting operations, you get close to the team, but then as soon as you start doing operations and you get into a couple gunfights, you immediately become it's a incredible bond.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah.
And I was a guy, I always make it very clear, like I was not in the military in like a special operations field. Yeah. But in my time,
you were kind of like an outsider in that team.
And I was so aware of that. I knew I wasn't like, I'm here because you guys need a dog. So I'm filling this need until you can get your own dog. But I knew that, and I knew my place, and I wasn't, I was careful. I toted that line. Yeah. And I knew I had to pay my dues. I knew I had to prove myself to them. Oh, yeah. And there was one day I vividly remember when that happened. Yeah. And we had the like Super Bowl celebration, high-fiving after a gunfight that happened, and I knew, okay, I'm a part of this group now.
That's cool.
And even though I'm not technically one of them, I'm a part of this group of guys.
Yeah, that's cool.
Finding that camaraderie was great. And when I left, it was the hardest day of my life.
I bet.
Leaving those guys. And And so, and I reference that a lot, that was the moment in my life where I knew, like I knew what camaraderie meant.
Huh.
And
Yeah.
my service was like service to those guys.
Right.
And so the day I had to watch them drive off without me and I was going home, it was the literally hardest day of my life.
Oh man. Yeah.
And so, so yeah, all that to say, camaraderie is a really big thing.
Yeah.
It's a really big thing for me. And you asked what drew me to police work from ministry. So I always had that in my heart was serving in this particular way, and being a part of a group like this, and the camaraderie that you find in police work is extremely similar to what
Really
is in the military. Yeah,
because my perception is that you're on your own so much.
You are,
Yeah,
but you have to work together as a team.
yeah,
You have to, everything that you accomplish in police work is it's team driven, and if it's not team driven, it's not very successful.
yeah. That makes sense.
You can be successful, but your success is greatly multiplied as a team.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And
yeah.
so, but in what year was it 2016 or 15 was the shooting in Dallas?
I don't know.
There was like that time in the world just got real, a lot of turmoil, a lot of division, and then
I don't remember.
and then that Dallas shooting happened, and I had friends here on the police department, always talking to them, and when that happened, I just had this like almost sick feeling, like I'm not there. I'm not there doing this.
Really?
What I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, interesting.
And I started talking to a couple of friends, and one of them was like, "Well, we're about to start hiring for the next academy," and so I really started thinking about it. And
well, especially since you had military experience, right? They were always ready to pick up those guys. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I did a ride along with a buddy, and we talked all night, just talking about stuff, and I was like, all right, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It was hard. It was hard to leave ministry and do make that transition, but I knew I had to, and I mean honestly, the obvious part of making that decision is, at the time I did was I wasn't getting any younger, and so I knew I had to do it.
How old were you when you joined the force?
35.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 35 when I joined up,
Yeah.
and so that was interesting, going through the academy with a lot of mid 20-year-olds, and but it was good though. I mean,
you're trying not to get injured.
Yeah.
At least that's what I would. That's where I would be. I don't know.
Yeah, that's always on my mind.
Yeah.
And I've had over time, I've had guys that have wanted to do like intramural sports, and there was a group of us that did like a church softball league, and we would before I joined the police department, and there was like nights when we're playing, and I'd hit a half a dinger, and everybody's like yelling for me to round first and go to second, and I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to get to the show or anything. I'm trying to keep my hamstrings.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and that's how I am now. I'm very, very aware of limitations, and very aware of not wanting to be injured, and so so it requires a lot of mindful fitness.
Yeah, mindful fitness. Yes.
Yeah.
It was 2017, 2017, right around there somewhere. I spent probably 6 months like really prayerfully thinking about joining the force. And talk is cheap, right? So anybody can say this.
Did we talk about this?
I don't know if we did. But our friend down the street, he's talking to me. I did a couple of ride-alongs, and he's talking to me, and his wife is talking to me, and she's like, "Hey, I heard that you're." So I was kind of trying to keep it secret, but and obviously I didn't, and it was the same deal. Like the clock's ticking. That would have been probably 38 or something like that. I'm in really good shape.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I didn't. So, and
Yeah.
it would have been a huge life change as far as like the shifts and the, you know, the nights and the days and all that stuff. So
yeah, I don't think, I don't know. I don't want to make it sound like it's this over dramatic thing, but it is a huge life change.
Oh, totally.
It's a huge life change.
Totally. And even just watching you guys being out in public is like a different kind of deal, you know, cause you're like sticking your neck out cause you got your uniform on and you know, it's a whole other deal. So,
Yeah. There's no way you're not noticed.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
At all times.
Yeah.
You almost just don't, like, sometimes Crystal wants to meet for dinner or something. And it's like, oh my gosh, you walk in a restaurant and every single head turns and like, oh,
what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what do we have here?
Yeah.
Police officer.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's the joke I always hear.
Oh man. Okay. But I want to talk about this. That's a great transition. So on the ride-alongs, I don't remember which one it was, but one of the things, like we would see kids or parents and they would do that. They would be like, here he is,
Yeah.
you know, or they were like, wait, what did you say? What was the one that you said?
Like I didn't do it.
Yeah, I didn't do it. Yeah. And so and they think it's funny, and I'm sure everybody says it to you. And so we would walk away, and my buddy who's a police officer, he's like, that's actually not what we want.
Yeah.
Because of, you know, because of public perception. And so what I want to talk about, where I want to land is like media stuff and like what, like people think about your job in a certain way or whatever. So like, what's a normal job versus what's a normal day versus what people think that you do? Like, have you run into that dissonance in those two things?
Oh yeah. And oh my gosh, it's extremely rewarding when you can bridge the gap. When you can, like that gap, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like when you can,
like, what do you mean?
When you can make a connection with somebody and you can tell if you're having an interaction, whether it's a negative interaction or whatever the case may be, when you're having an interaction with somebody and you can tell the moment that they stop viewing you as just this uniform, and they start speaking to you as a person. Yeah. When you can make a connection, and then you can tell there's either like a sigh of relief, or they just have this moment where they just like, oh, okay, and you can just start talking,
even if it's a negative interaction.
Because you know, and so you know, sometimes our interactions are they're negative, or they're violent, or they're extremely peaceful. And sometimes people, no matter what you do to try to, you know, prove to them that you're for their good, you know, sometimes they will not accept it, but then there are times when they will. And you can make a human to human connection. And it always feels really good when you can bridge that gap.
That's cool.
And you know, and convince somebody that you're just a human, and I'm just here to get you through this one thing, and I'm not here, you know, whatever. So I think media does have a huge role in that, for sure.
Like how many times, what do you have to do with your dog? What's a normal week? Do you have to are you sicking your dog? I don't know what you call it.
So that's a perfect example. There's people see the dog and they just think it's this.
He's gonna run me down.
It's just this beast that's mowing everybody down. And
I don't even have a suit on, and he's gonna run me down, like bite my arm, shake it. Yeah,
it's literally not. It's not that for sure. So my particular role, I view my role as support to all other officers. I have this incredible tool that it's a multiplier for everything they're trying to accomplish, everything I'm trying to accomplish. I have this incredible tool that multiplies the success rate. And
because you're not doing traffic stops.
I mean, I do.
You do.
Yeah,
you do
I do. I do. I try to not do some things. I mean, I can literally do anything that any other police officer does, but I try to not. I try to not get tied up on something that's not necessarily dog related. So if someone does need a dog, then I can go. I can go help out. But so I mean, things like thefts and car crashes and stuff, I don't do as much as what I used to do before I got the dog. But but my dog is trained to do so many things, and the possibilities are almost endless on how I can, utilize him to help out. And so,
like if somebody's missing, if somebody's hiding.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Track them down.
he's trained to do tracking.
Yeah.
And that's also, something that it's not always just, bad guys that are hiding.
Right.
It is sometimes that, but it's not always that. I've been able to, it's very rewarding when that particular function of the dog works, because it's the hardest thing that we ask the dog to do, but it's like
to do what?
Tracking.
Track people.
Yeah.
Oh,
if someone,
interesting.
if someone is lost and there's like no idea where they went, the dog like performs a magic trick and finds this person. Wow, and it just surprises the heck out of everybody.
Yeah.
But there are oftentimes there are either children that just accidentally wander off or intentionally wander off, and I've been able to help, and there have been times when elderly folks that have some type of dementia or something like that wander off, and that's very very rewarding to find them, because it's scary to think someone's elderly family member is just lost, and it's a very helpless feeling for them, I know, and so it's really feels good to be able to help out that way.
And people think, based on shows, that you're like running around yelling at people, drawing your sidearm.
Yeah.
Have you had to draw on somebody?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
How often?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, it feels like more often than you would think.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's often, but it's not. It's not like you said. It's not like that's all you do is just constantly going around yelling at everybody and
yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would think, especially like once you get a few years into it, that you don't want to yell.
Oh
yeah. I don't know. I don't know how that it may be different for everybody.
Yeah, it's funny because you kind of you find a way of like being able to deal with everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
From all walks of life, you find ways to deal with them. And sometimes, like I was saying earlier, sometimes people, they, no matter what you do, how hard you try, they won't accept just normal human to human talk.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some people, you have to yell at them.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. There's also, is there research that says that the first time a kid comes in contact with a police officer, that sort of like crystallizes or solidifies how they think about police officers?
I'm very certain that would be.
Yeah.
That would be research.
I always wonder if that's why police officers are at the middle schools, to try to give them a positive, even if it's negative, like at least a positive human to human interaction in that scenario. Yeah.
That is a major reason.
Yeah.
And I love going to schools.
Yeah.
I love going to schools, taking the dog and just talking to kids, not doing anything other than just
hanging out.
Yeah. I'm a normal person.
Yeah.
And I think the few years in children's ministry helped me out a lot with that, being able to identify, able to speak to kids. And
didn't you say you'll pull over guys sometimes? They're like, "Hey, Pastor Tim."
Oh my gosh, that is bizarre. That has happened.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure they look different, and do you not recognize them, and they recognize you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I not only kids that were like students from back in the day, and
like
now they're they're adults, but also parents, and then staff. I had staff members. They were like college students, high school students that worked at the after school program, things like that. And I'll see them now. That just happened the other day.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah. There was a fire going on at somebody's house, and there was a lady sitting in a car, and I was like, "Hey, I know you." And, "You do?" And
that's funny.
And then we both made the connection. Oh yeah, the church. And so, it's really funny because when you work at the church, and there's a lot of people know your face,
Yeah.
And you see people in public and you'll have that, I know you.
Yeah.
And and you get used to like, well, they know me from church.
Yeah.
Or that's so-and-so's parent. I know their kid really well because
Yeah.
they're in children's ministry all the time. And I briefly talk to parents. And so you see and know a lot of faces and you know a lot of people and you run into people in public. And then now in the police world, you also run into a lot of people and you talk to a lot of people and you get to know a lot of people. And you're in a position to where I deal with, I meet and talk to and deal with hundreds of people.
Yeah.
But I may be the only police officer that they interact with. And so
that's
they
true.
remember me, but I don't remember them.
Yeah,
so I'll see faces a lot and I'll see that look in public and I wonder, is this a church thing or is this police thing?
Have I arrested them before?
Yeah.
Yes. What about what's something that people like based on shows or based on how we perceive police officers and canines? What's something people get wrong? We're like, no, it's not like that.
Oh gosh. Man, I'm sure there's a lot of things. That's a good question.
My perception of the canine dog of the unit is just like running people down, running people down or whatever. So.
Yeah, I think that could be one.
Yeah.
I think I can't watch movies because military movies, police movies, detective movies. Yeah. I can't watch movies. It drives me nuts.
Oh yeah.
It's never it's never
it's
right.
not like this.
Yeah, it's never right.
Yeah.
And the way people talk and act and it's never right. No, like just the way people hold weapons, carry weapons and just do things. It just bugs me.
Yep.
And so I can't do movies and I mean it's along those lines. I think people have seen those things and they've seen I don't understand why people have a fascination with filming. Well, I do understand why, but people have this fascination with filming like just the most negative interaction with police and putting it on social media.
Yeah, that's true.
And I see that. I see that in interactions where I think people are saturated with those types of videos where they're just screaming at police and regardless of what the situation is and just demanding a badge number or something. Right. And then you interact with somebody in public and you can tell they've seen that on videos. They think that's how you're supposed to behave for some reason. And
they kind of bristle. And it's that perception, I guess, how media shapes mindset and how they're watching those videos and they think that situation equals this situation, maybe.
I'm trying to think of some specific things that people have wrong. I know there's a lot of times, so many times where, you have that thing where maybe like you're in traffic and you see somebody drive like a maniac and you always wish a police officer was around or something. And then maybe you get that one moment where someone runs a red light and there's a police officer sitting next to you and they don't go after him.
Yes.
That police officer is probably on the way to an emergency.
Yeah.
And they have to drive by a person that just ran a red light. And you get people that are like throwing their hands up at you and you're like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. I got this thing this way. And
it was like 6 months or a year ago and I was on the freeway in town and this guy just blows by me like a maniac. And I was like, I wish somebody was here to pull him over. And there was a police officer up there and he pulled out and he's like going to get him. And he pulled over somebody else. It's like, oh no, this was the one time I was going to see it.
It makes you want to go and run down the dude that was going fast.
Please, yeah. No, I'm fascinated by. You and I talk about. I'm a hunter. I love hunting, and especially when I take somebody new. Oh yeah. They think they know how it's gonna go, and that's not how it's gonna go. They're like in the things, the animal's going to come here and then I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, no, that's not how it's going to happen. Yeah. It's going to be over in like 4 seconds. And so I get them all set up and I got tired of people missing. And so, and I know this is not that, but the way people visualize it, I'm like, that's literally not how it's going to, that's not how it's going to go. It's going to go like this. And like even firearms, the way people visualize firearms or whatever, it's just literally not like that. In the movies, the things that the movies do, it's like, it's not like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and like you talked about going on ride-alongs a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I love love is a pretty strong word for this. I enjoy taking people on ride-alongs.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to say I love it, but
Okay.
because
Probably
well, I mean,
depends who, right?
well, yeah. I mean, you have your routine,
Yeah.
and you've got your car set up the way you want. And
Yeah,
then,
they like
and
cramp
then,
your style, maybe.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you have to move all your things, and
then
have
like,
somebody
what
in
if
the
they
car,
talk
but,
too much or
yeah.
whatever? Yeah.
But I enjoy giving a ride along, and you talked about it earlier. But talking about people's perception, they come on a ride along with you, and it may be for me, it may be just kind of a run of the mill. This was a normal day at work.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, when I go to drop them off, they are just exploding with, "Oh, I can't believe that this happened. I can't
Really?
believe this happened." It was the most exciting thing that they've ever experienced. But for me, it was just like, yeah, that was cool. But
one of the ones that I went on, we almost got to work a female to female hostage situation.
oh wow,
And I was like, dang, that would have been interesting.
yeah,
That's what's fascinating to me about police work is it's just like different. It's just different. Every day is different.
Every day.
And then one of the ride-alongs I did, this guy, he had to chase somebody on foot
Oh yeah.
across across I-20.
What did you do?
Well, no, it was the week before. It was the week before. And so
So
I was like, I don't know, what would I have done?
Yeah.
I think it's when you and I talked about, didn't you have to like impound that little, like somebody's
Yes.
little toy car or
Yes.
something because they were riding it on the street?
Yeah.
It's so great. But no, it happened the week before. And I was like, oh man, what would I have done? My 40 time's pretty good. Like I'm pretty good. I'm pretty quick. I wonder, but I don't know. And then one of them, I got to go a couple of the situations I went and I don't not look like a cop. And so I got to like go in and in my head, I'm thinking like, I'm a boring old professor. I shouldn't be here. Like such an imposter. It's just really weird, but just stand there and pretend like I'm a cop. Yeah, sure.
It's funny. There have been times where things like that have happened. You know, foot chases have happened. And
Yeah.
there is someone on a ride along, and they've either just had to stand, like, because if we're out of the car, they're locked out of the car.
Oh yeah.
And so there have been
They
times
just
where
stand there.
Yeah, they just stand there, or they're like in a dark alley in a not so great neighborhood. They just have to wait for everybody to come back and try to find where'd they go and where did my rider go. And that's happened. There have been times where people have ran right next to us, and it's funny. That kind of stuff happens.
Is that okay?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you sign a paper saying you understand this is a dangerous thing.
It's
and
dangerous.
So, yeah.
It's dangerous. Yep.
But yeah, there's you're right. It's at any given second, it can go from 0 to a gazillion.
Yeah.
It can just, everything changes. Every single shift is different. Every day is different.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoy that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Conversely, we were driving down the street. It was kind of rainy, and we just saw a wreck. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a bad 2 hours. Like the wreck was nothing, just like ding. And then you got to take the report from this person, and then do all the paperwork on the computer. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
It was maybe not 2 hours, but it was a long time.
You stopped and experienced all that?
All of that.
Oh yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
And I was on my phone a lot. Well, because, I want to be cool and not talk.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to let him work. So
yeah.
Anyway, but no, it was all good. It was still, even that was fun. Because sometimes I'm in the middle of a horrible workout and I think this is better than email.
Oh yes.
I hate email so much. So anyway. Okay. So let's wrap up. One of the themes of this podcast is like better than ever and thankfulness and those sorts of things. So like you personally, well, first of all, are there any other police related things you want to talk about like that?
I love the work. I love, I love being able to be a service to, the people I work for, things like that.
Yeah.
I love being able to help and things like that. I love the work. I love it's still interesting.
Yeah.
It's,
and 7 years in, that's great. That's awesome that you can say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible. That's cool. That's real cool. Okay. So thankfulness. Do you have any, you seem like a positive guy. So do you have any, like, are you thankful? Do you have any practices that you do, or any things daily or weekly or anything like that?
I don't know about practices. I I think about like optimism
Yeah.
a lot. Optimism. I try to. I feel like I'm almost to a fault
Yeah. Okay.
optimistic.
Okay.
And me and a couple friends joke about the Cowboys, like I'm the most optimistic Cowboy fan. I mean, things like that.
Yeah.
And so, but also with things like in my job and just certain life tasks. Sometimes things seem like, oh, this will never work out this way. We'll never be able to accomplish that.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are people who are kind of more drawn to just kind of always doomsday type thinking.
Like me. I'm sorry. It's true.
But I am constantly, I feel like I'm a very calm person.
Yeah.
And when people start getting that way, I'm just like, it's gonna work out.
You're a calming force.
Yeah.
You're an anchor.
It's gonna work out.
That's
and
cool.
When has it not worked out? And
that's awesome.
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. And so I'm constantly thinking that optimism.
Yeah.
It's always gonna work out.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I do constantly think of like being. I don't think I necessarily have like an exercise or
Right.
something that I do other than just being mindful of it. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to. I don't want to be stressed. Obviously, I don't want to, be pessimistic or.
Yeah. But you naturally feel like you're in a good spot of optimism.
Yeah, I am.
That's great.
I just think I think just being self-aware and things like that. But yeah, if there are practices, maybe I'm doing it and I don't know it. But
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to plug?
Well, I wasn't even that wasn't on my.
I know I didn't tell you about this. I just try to surprise you.
Yeah. So one really cool thing that I am involved in.
Yeah.
It's called Operation Blue Santa.
Okay.
And so it's a nonprofit that it's not a part of the police department, but
Okay.
it's a nonprofit made up of police officers.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And so I am the board president
Okay.
of Operation Blue Santa.
Very cool.
And so Blue Santa is a really amazing program that provides Christmas. It provides a full-on Christmas to underprivileged kids.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah. And you guys what's cool about this is you guys have your pulse on what underprivileged is.
Right.
What underprivileged is.
Right.
Like if anybody knows about what the areas of town and everything look like you guys know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a really cool program because we have a relationship with the schools, and we're actually starting the process now of getting ready for this year's operation. But,
That's cool.
We send out nomination packets to teachers at all the schools, and they know the kids.
They know too. Yeah. You guys know and they know. Yeah. That's cool.
They know 100% which kids are deserving and why, and they will submit nominations for kids, and we have committees that will go through those. And
that's cool.
And we do fundraising, and we'll raise money to. Usually, it's about 100 kids, and we'll pick a day in December, and we partner with Walmart on 351.
That's cool.
And they let a couple hundred police officers invade Walmart and just bring all these kids in, and we full on buy them Christmas.
Oh, that's neat.
It is. Gosh, it's so amazing to be able to do. It's hard work.
Yeah.
And so it's exhausting, and it's easy to can't wait for this to be done, but it is extremely rewarding. And there are so many stories that come from that, and talk about, like what you were saying earlier, kids having their first experience with police officers.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man.
Talk about how meaningful that interaction is. That because I mean that's life changing to be able to walk around a Walmart and get a full Christmas.
That's neat.
And so that's a very a very powerful moment for kids.
That's
And
cool.
There's so many stories have come from that, and they'll walk through the store and get to know the kids, and then find out, no, they don't even have a Christmas tree, and so we'll buy them a Christmas tree.
Wow.
We've found, lots of kids don't even have beds, and we'll go and buy them beds.
Wow.
And lots of really amazing stories come from that.
Man, that's
that
cool.
program.
That's really neat.
We've been doing that for several years now. We've probably maybe close to 800 kids by now that
that's really neat. Yeah.
we've provided Christmas for, and so
I'll plug it. I'll be sure and put it on the podcast and the website. Yep, that's cool. Okay, I didn't tell you about this question, but I want to ask you, what's a book everybody should read? Do you read a lot?
I do. I wish I here lately. I've been so busy.
You've been busy, right?
Yeah, I've been so busy. I wish
you've been doing some work.
Yeah, I wish I could read more than I do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I feel like I come and go with either reading paper books or listening to audiobooks or just podcasts.
Yeah.
I kind of come and go in waves with all of that. Yeah. And here recently, this isn't like a book everybody should read, but it's just what I had read recently was the Terminal List series.
Oh yeah, Jack Carr.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That
it's so good. It's such a good book. It's such a revenge story. It's awesome. It's one I've actually read. Yeah.
So, like I was saying earlier, I can't watch movies hardly and stuff like that. And I was when I first started reading the movie, when I first started reading the book, and I was starting to get the premise of the story. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Come on. But then I got sucked into it. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then I saw the first series came out, and I've started reading the other books. That's a really incredible series.
He loves gear, and he's he's the real deal.
Yeah, he
is.
So
that part is cool.
Yeah. So I can endorse that one.
Yeah, I like it.
As if I have some kind of a voice for that.
Yeah.
But a book everybody should read. So I think maybe as far as books that I've read, I think the first one that just came to mind when you said that, there's a book, let's see, what is his name? Neil Anderson.
Okay.
Neil Anderson. He's a, ministry minded, writes books on like freedom ministry type stuff. But he had, I don't even know, it might have been 15 or so years ago, a book called Victory. Oh. And it was actually the first life group that we were in. In that time I was transitioning from military life to
Victory Over Darkness.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Did I get it right? Neil Anderson?
Yeah. Okay. Neil T. Anderson.
Yeah.
If you're going to be an author, you got to have that middle.
Oh
initial.
Yeah.
I don't have it.
That book was really, it sounds like at risk of making it sound like it's a way bigger deal than it is. It was really life-changing.
It was like formative.
Yeah, it was very
That's
formative
cool.
for me, because that going from that military life to those couple of transition years before I went into ministry.
Yeah,
that was a big stage of growth in my life, just personally. Yeah. I experienced a lot of wild stuff in those years, the last few years, like Afghanistan, things like that. Yeah. And then having to, kind of find out who I am, what am I going to be, and that book really changed a lot of ways that I view myself.
That's
and
cool.
And just my own identity and things like that. And so
cool.
very powerful book for me.
Very cool. Well, Tim Cox, thanks for coming by.
Yes, sir.
And we did it.
Yeah.
After all this time, we set up a podcast and we did it. So, all right, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you liked ideas like these, check out my book, Like a King, Compare Yourself into Happiness, where I compare our lives to the kings of the past, wherever books are sold. Just kidding. It's only on Amazon.